Hey guys, this is Paul Lynch. I'm an anesthesiologist and pain management doctor from Scottsdale, Arizona. Many of you followed me this year. Earlier in April, I went to New York City and worked in the ICU when COVID was first hitting. And ultimately, I got COVID myself. And I've tried to do as much as I can this summer to continue to educate about the coronavirus and what we can do to keep ourselves safe. Yesterday was the worst day in the history of coronavirus, with over 2,800 deaths reported in one day. And most experts say that it's going to get worse before it gets better. But my message today is one of hope, of excitement. It is always darkest before the dawn is a famous saying, and I think that's what's going to happen over the next couple of months. I want to let everyone know that we now have 2 vaccines that look to be over 95% effective. This is such an incredible turn of events. And not only are they only over 95% effective, but they are ready to be rolled out almost immediately. I did a video a couple of weeks ago when the new Pfizer data came out, and I wanted to update you. Now we also have the Moderna data. I want to make today's video about the vaccines and why I think they're going to save over 45 million lives around the world over the next couple of years. 45 million. I'm going to get into that number in just a little bit. So I want to start by going over the 2 vaccines. So both of them are messenger RNA vaccines. Now, anyone who's kind of followed this, there were as many as 6 vaccines that were kind of in the vaccine race to see who could come to market first. And that might sound scary to some people, but there's been very good science done each step of the way. Phase 1, where they look for safety, and phase 2, and then phase 3, where they deploy it to lots of people. And there were 6 vaccines that were working towards it, with AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson kind of a little bit behind. But these 2 messenger RNA vaccines by Pfizer and Moderna have come to market first, and their data is incredible. So I want to start with Pfizer. I talked about this before. There were 44,000 people in the Pfizer study. And so people that get worried about side effects, this is a massive group to look at, and there were really no serious side effects. 44,000 people, 170 people got COVID during this study, and 162 of those cases were in the placebo group that didn't get the vaccine, and only 8 people who got the vaccine out of 22,000 people only 8 people who got COVID were in the vaccination group. And so what that shows is over 95% reduction in your chance of getting COVID. It was really similar in the Moderna study, also a messenger RNA vaccine. There were 30,000 people. So think about that. Between these 2 studies, there were almost 75,000 people that were tested over the last couple of months. There were 196 cases of COVID, and of that, 185 were in the placebo group, and only 11 people who got vaccinated in the Moderna study got COVID. But here's where it's really interesting. The Moderna study showed that it was 100% effective against getting severe cases. So in that study, there were 0 people who got vaccinated who had a severe case of COVID. That's really exciting for me as a healthcare worker. That means if you get vaccinated with this, based on the data we have right now, it is very almost impossible for you to get seriously ill and die from this disease. What a relief. So you heard me say messenger RNA several times. That sounds really scary, but it's not. Messenger RNA is a simple thing that's part of all of our bodies that replicates our RNA in order to produce cells. And what we did with this really cool, both of these vaccines, is they took a very, very small piece of genetic information and they put it inside of a lipid molecule, and they put it into your body. And what it does is it causes your body to be able to recognize what the little small spike protein on coronavirus looks like. Not the entire virus, not the part that hurts you, but just the little part, the doorway that gets inside the cell. And so what your body does is it makes all these little infectious, I'm trying to say it the right way, but immune markers that will go in, and if you do get exposed to coronavirus in the future, it knows how to fight it immediately, and it goes in, it enters the cell, and it kills it immediately. And so just by putting this small little sequence of messenger RNA into your body, now it's going to recognize it in the future, and it works. That's what's so cool. So how's it going to roll out? This is what a lot of people are asking me. My mom's called me, other healthcare workers have called me. I studied the CDC website and they voted 13-1, almost a unanimous approach on rollout. First, they're going to give it to healthcare workers. There's about 21 million healthcare workers in the United States, and then they're going to give it to residents of long-term facilities. There's about 3 million, but we know that up to 40% of all deaths have been in residents of long-term care facilities. And so that 24 million people have asked me how long it's going to take to roll out. Well, it looks like, based on the schedule we have right now, that we might be able to vaccinate those first 24 million people by the end of this year. It's absolutely amazing. They're talking about 20 million people can get vaccinated this month, and that's 24 million. So it may bleed over into the first week of January. Then it looks like, from all the data, that between Moderna and Pfizer, they're going to be able to produce 60 to 70 million doses a month, that they can vaccinate 60 to 70 million people a month. And so the next group that's going to get vaccinated is going to be the elderly and people that have pre-existing diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and heart disease. And so that group, we think, could be completely vaccinated by March. And then the rest of the United States, it's looking like could be vaccinated by June. And so this is like absolutely one of the most incredible things in the history of public health. I did the math. People argue on this, but it looks to me like the death rate, the true kill rate, is still somewhere between 0.5 and 0.7% of people who get coronavirus will die from it. Now, if you look at the death rate amongst people who know they have coronavirus, it's actually closer to 2% still to this day in the United States. 14 million cases and 280,000 deaths. So it's actually 2%. But the point is that for every person who knows they have it, there's about 2 or 3 that actually have it that never get diagnosed. So the real kill rate is probably 0.5 to 0.7%, depending on how you look at the data. For us to get herd immunity across the world, 80% of our 8 billion or so people would need to get the coronavirus, which is about 6.5 billion. And if you multiply that by the 0.7%, there's going to be 45 million people that would die from the coronavirus before it ran its course. That'd probably take 3 or 4 years. But with this vaccine showing that it works at such high levels, and with us being able to deploy it quickly, it's probably going to save 45 million lives. What an exciting thing to be a part of. You know, as I read all this research, and I spent the last week or so preparing for this video because so many people have asked me to talk about the vaccines, I kept getting this vision of like storming the beaches at Normandy and how the United States entered World War II and it looked like the Germans were taking over the world. We entered World War II. We helped fight in England, and then when we stormed the beaches in Normandy, that's kind of the picture I have right now of deploying this vaccine. It's something that looked like it was going to kill millions and millions of people, and we were all really desperate. And even yesterday, 2,800 deaths in a day. But now we can see that there is a solution. I've told people there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that tunnel is going to be ending probably around March. We're going to have all of our most vulnerable protected by March. I think that our economy is going to start coming back, and I think that our country is going to get back to normal. And the United States, once again, led the charge. 2 American companies, Pfizer and Moderna, and there's partnerships, with countries around the world. But at the end of the day, 2 United States companies that have created these amazing vaccines in such a quick period of time. It just makes me excited to be a doctor and to be an American. And in a year where I think we've all been discouraged, I think it's good to have something to be thankful for and to be proud of. So I want to talk about safety real quick, and then I'll end this video. Many people have asked me, is this safe? Is this safe? And I think, we know short term, we know 2 months of data. So about 10 to 15% of people when they get the injection will have a reaction, and you should prepare yourself for that. So you'll get maybe a little bit fatigued, your arm might hurt, some people even get a fever. Probably 10 to 15% of people have mild reactions. And so you should prepare for that. As far as long term, we don't know. And I think that's part of this that we just have to acknowledge is we don't 100% know long term, the same way we don't know the side effects of COVID long term. But everything we can see, there's no reason for scientists to believe that taking a small sequence of messenger RNA that just allows your body to recognize a spike protein, there's no reason to believe that that could be associated with any long-term diseases, or at least nothing that we would understand right now. And so the risk-benefit equation of the 45 million people that would die without a vaccine versus doing it makes sense to epidemiologists around the world. It makes sense to me. All of our previous presidents have come out and said they're going to get the vaccine, from Bush and Clinton and Obama. They've all said they'd actually videotape it and put it out there so that more people are willing to get the vaccine. And I'm personally going to get the vaccine, even though I was exposed to coronavirus and captured it in the spring. We're not sure how much immunity that gives me going forward, and most of the experts are saying I should still get it, so I'm going to. And when I get it, I may videotape it and put it out there for my followers. If you look at vaccinations in general, they're one of the great healthcare advancements of the last 200 years. A lot of people don't know this, but the first vaccine actually happened in 1796, over 200 years ago, and it was to smallpox. And since the invention of the vaccination for smallpox, scientists have estimated that we've saved 200 million lives by just that one, vaccine, which is pretty incredible. Every single year right now around the world, we save about 3 million children with our vaccination program against things like measles and diphtheria. And so vaccinations are safe. There's about 10% of you watching this video that it doesn't matter what I say, you're not going to believe me. There's about 10% of people that just don't trust vaccinations, and I think that's fine. I think I'm talking to the other 90% right now. If 90% of us gets vaccinated in the United States by June, we're going to save, just in the United States, probably 1 million to 1.5 million lives. And that's people like your own mom or dad or your mothers or brothers or sisters. We need to all pull together to do this. We don't have 100% assurance that there aren't problems long term, the same way that our young men, the greatest generation, didn't have 100% assurance that we would win against the Germans in 1944 when they stormed the beaches in Normandy. But we did it anyways. We went out on a limb, we made a plan, and we won World War II, and we made the world a better place. And now we're going to roll out this vaccination program, and we're going to save millions and millions of lives. We're going to make the world a better place. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and please share the video. I think lots of people need to hear this message right now. Thank you guys. God bless you.